Hello, everyone, and welcome to the P. Carroll Sport podcast. This week, we are going to be looking back on Tipperary's win against Clare in the National Hurling League. It is just what time we were 10:30 on Saturday night, as I'm recording on a very squeaky chair. But I'm just back from Semple Stadium. I'm just going to run through the podcast now. You might only be listening to this maybe on Sunday. I probably won't upload it until Sunday morning, but just back from what is a bitterly cold Semple Stadium, so I'm happy to be indoors now and out of that awful breeze that was down in Thurles. But we were treated to a really good game, particularly in the second half down in Semple Stadium. 22 points to 118, the full time score. Tipperary beating Clare in, as I said, what was a dead rubber, but it certainly didn't feel like that in the second half, particularly. Both teams kind of really came to play. Mark Rogers popped up with a goal in the second half. The start of the second half, first kind of 90 seconds, and that kind of ignited the whole thing. So, as always, if you're a new watcher, a new viewer, I'm working with Tipp FM. I'm commentating on these games, so I like to just kind of reflect back on them after full time on each week's podcast and kind of run you down through the performers who I thought played well and kind of where we are with Tipperary. So it's the end of the league campaign for Tipperary in the normal rounds. Of course, Tip in a league final now against Cork, and overall, you'd have to be very impressed with what Tipperary put out in their 6 games. You know, they beat everyone bar Limerick and had a really good win against Clare at home this evening. Good win against Wexford and good win against Cork at home. That brilliant win against Galway on the first day. So it's been a good league for Tipperary and a league final to look forward to against Cork in 2 weeks' time. As I'm recording, not quite sure exactly where that's going to be just yet. But let's go down through this game because Clare led by 8 points in the second half after 42 minutes, and Tipperary kind of motored back into it, very similar to Thurles CBS, kind of point by point. So we're going to spend the next kind of 15 minutes or so running down through the game. I'll be giving my thoughts, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe. It's free. You'll get a notification every time I upload, and a like on the video is always appreciated as well. So let's get straight into it. Tipperary 22 points, Clare 118. The halftime score was 10 points to 8. Very kind of stop start first half. Wasn't exactly a great game by any stretch in that first half. But there was some memorable moments. Tony Kelly, what did he finish up with? Finished up with 6 points. He got a brilliant score out on the sideline. If this game is going to be shown on League Sunday, which I'm sure it is, it'll definitely show this score. Brian McGrath is running out towards the sideline on the kind of the 45, trying to get the ball up, and he kind of has it up in front of him like this, about to catch it. Tony Kelly comes in over his shoulder, flicks the ball away from Brian McGrath into his hand on the sideline, and fires it over the bar into the town end. It was an unbelievable score. In that first half, there was also a big moment for Dylan Walsh. A long ball into the full forward line, in over the top of the defender, in over the top of Dylan Walsh's head, and he's kind of looking over his left shoulder as the ball's coming down and touches it, one touch into his hand, and he's in behind his man. I think it was Adam Hogan who dragged him down, and Tipp won a free. Adam Hogan got a yellow card for it, but it was just a piece of magic from Dylan Walsh, who had a good game, could have had a couple of goals for a finish, as we'll talk you through them. But yeah, the first half, not too much to report. Owen Connolly got 2 long-range frees. He was good with them. Jason Ford, although he missed his first free, which was one, on the kind of 45, you'd be expecting him to score all day long. He missed that, but he kind of got his accuracy in after that, and finished up with 9 points. In general, the game, an awful lot of wides. As I said, it was really windy and it was kind of blowing in towards the old stand, so the tunnel side of Semple Stadium, and the amount of wides, I think it was 12-10 in favour of Clare. Clare having more wides than Tipperary, but they were all pretty much 90% of them were on the old stand side of the field, so the wind was blowing them over that way. So it was causing havoc. But nonetheless, some of the lads got their eye in. One of those being Jason Ford, but there was a lot of wides, particularly with some substitutes coming on even for Clare. Aidan McCarthy, Patrick Crotty, as far as I remember, come on, hit a couple of wides. David Reedy as well. But for Tipperary, down by 2 at half time, but you felt the game was going to come to life in the second half, or it would be more of a game in the second half than the first half. First half, very not much to kind of note from it. But then the second half, ball throws in. Clare have got a point straight away from the puck out. Ball breaks to Mark Rogers. He goes in one on one with Barry Hogan and kind of just goes low underneath Barry Hogan. It all kind of happened very quick. I haven't been able to see a replay back, so just from memory, I remember it was just a low shot into the Kleinen end goals past Barry Hogan. So Clare got a really good start to the second half, and they were 8 points up, as I said, after 42 minutes. And you're kind of thinking, God, what's going to happen here? You're very similar to Thurles CBS. You're thinking Tipp are going to need goals here, but they didn't need goals for a finish. Points coming from an awful lot of players, but it was the substitutes in that second half that made a big difference. Darius Stakelum came on, Grohl O'Connor, Andrew Ormond, Shawnee Kennelly, and Brian O'Meara were the players that come on for Tipperary, and they done incredibly well, point by point. Jake Morris done really well in that second half, shown for a lot. He was fouled an awful lot of times, won a good few frees. Noah McGrath popped up with a score. There was a goal chance for Jake Morris. He broke through. Connor Bowe kind of played the ball forward to him. Connor, we'll go through the performers one by one. Excuse me, but Connor Bowe played the ball into Jake Morris, and it opened up from just kind of the edge of the D, or maybe the 40-metre arc on the edge, and he just took it all the way into the 14, around the 14, and drilled it low to the right of the goalkeeper, so to Jake's kind of left and across the goals. And it was a good save by Eibhear Quilligan. Dylan Walsh had pulled out and opened up the space for Jake Morris and given him option for a pass. It was always going to be maybe a difficult pass for Jake to pull off, and I think the shot was the right option. It was just a good save from the goalkeeper, Eibhear Quilligan. But Jason Ford popped over the point to kind of keep Tipperary in touch. As I mentioned, Grohl O'Connor came on and got a score. Darius Stakelum, I thought, was really good when he came on. He got a couple of points, including the winner. But Owen Connolly got a point from play. A ball went into the full forward line, and I'm trying to think, it was a white helmet. It must have been Aidan McCarthy, I think, maybe got on it for, or possibly Aaron Shanaher, actually. I think it was Aaron Shanaher who had a fine game, I thought, for Clare. He popped up, put it over the bar, and Owen Connolly just limped away from it, and the physio came in and had a quick look at him, but he had to continue playing because Tipp had used all their subs, so he didn't look right at all for the last kind of 7-8 minutes of the game. But it was Owen Connolly who popped up with a point to, I believe, put Tipp in the lead. He was off the back foot outside the 45, and it just landed on top of the crossbar. Goalkeeper Eibhear Quilligan put up his hurley and batted it down for himself. The umpire went to grab the flag, stopped, thought about it, and then eventually picked it up and waved it. I don't think Hawkeye was in operation, but Eibhear Quilligan wasn't like freaking out or anything like that, so you have a feeling that maybe it was probably over the bar, but that put Tipp in the lead. I think Mark Rogers went up the other end and got a levelling score for Clare, 1-5 for him. And then it was kind of a chaotic period of play. The ball kind of broke in between the two 65s. Patrick Crotty had it, ran over it, left it behind him. That opened up another ruck for Tipperary, kind of right on the Clare 65 central position. Eventually it was Darius Stakelum who broke out from the ruck, brought it forward. Conor Cleary was kind of caught on the turn, and Conor Cleary had 70 odd minutes of running in his legs compared to the fresher Darius Stakelum. So Darius Stakelum took it on, edge of the 45, fired it high over the bar, and from the puck out then, Clare actually won a line ball that was probably a Tipperary line ball, so much so that Shawnee Kennelly got a yellow card for just freaking out at the linesman. And Clare took that line ball, again another ruck in the middle of the field, and Tipperary won the ball. I think the Clare maybe get a shot off. I'm just trying to think back, but it went full time anyway, and Tipperary won the game by a point. Two really good scenes, all the youngsters running onto the field. 6,351 were at the game. So my overall reflections on the game, I felt today was all about kind of keeping momentum going for Tipperary. And with 8 points down in the second half, you weren't thinking, oh, this is a disaster, but you're kind of like, oh, this mightn't be the best, going forward for the confidence. Whereas now, the likes of the substitutions coming on and making a difference, some of the lads starting who hadn't started games making a difference, the spine of the team remaining strong. I think Tipp will take an awful lot of confidence from this win, and yeah, it kind of keeps the momentum going. And speaking to Liam Cahill after the game, he was kind of nearly saying as much, that today was kind of all about the performance, and they definitely got that in that second half. And he mentioned the support of the Tipp crowd. There was Tipp chants, which everyone outside Tipp hates, but it's always good for the Tipp teams to hear that. And this team haven't heard that an awful lot in the last couple of years. So to get that up positivity and momentum going, and again, Liam Cowell spoke about the enjoyment in the panel at the minute and how he's really enjoying it. So that's all positive things for Tipperary that they can take from the performance. We'll run you down through the kind of player performance is individually. Barry Hogan in goals, as I've mentioned in previous podcasts, I think he's in the best form he's been in for Tipperary. Puckouts were difficult today because of that wind. It was really, really difficult for players to get used to it at all. So there was a few puckouts that Barry was hitting that usually would be into the hand. Maybe today they're down around the knees, that kind of thing. Wet ball as well. The goal couldn't really do much about it. I'd like to see it again, but as it went in, I was thinking, yeah, I wasn't thinking it was Barry Hogan's fault or anything like that. Apart from that, didn't have too much to do from play. But yeah, I think solid performance from Barry Hogan. The full back line, Robert Doyle is just settled in so well into this team. There's a lot of rucks that will form where Robert Doyle comes out with it and gets important flicks away and things like that. So he's really kind of gotten used to the position and has done well. Owen Connolly, his long range free take, and he was 2 from 2, and he got that score as well. So, well, he actually had one long range free that, if you're listening to myself and Ken Hogan on the Tipp FM commentary, we had marked it as a score. And then I looked down and play was continuing. It had dropped short. I think the minute he hit it, I was like, yeah, that's money. But it dropped short, and unless it hit the post, now that I think of it. But myself and Ken Hogan were both marking our sheets as it was happening, but play continued anyway. So 3 points for Owen Connolly, really strong again coming out with the ball. Michael Breen is another really good game, busting out with the ball a couple of times, and 50-50 ball. He's just loving it in there. Now Aaron Shanaher scored 3 points. He was kind of known, kind of players were moving around the whole time, so it's hard to know exactly who's marking who. And when I'm commentating, I'm just following the ball and commentating on what's happening, so something you oftentimes miss out, like, all right, who's covering who, whatever. But Aaron Shanaher, I thought, did have a good game for Clare, scored 3 points, kind of set up a couple of other scores. He's just such an outball, and he's a different type of player that no matter really his form, I think he can always offer Clare something. He's like that kind of striker in the Premier League where he offers you something different off the bench, like when Lacazette was starting for Arsenal and Giroud would come on, completely different style of player. So I think Aaron Shanner had a useful game there for Clare, that's for sure. But back for Tipperary, Joe Caesar, another solid performance, looks very comfortable in around the rucks. Got a really important block at one stage that set up that ruck, which Dara Statham come out with the ball and won. It was just I think it was a Patrick Crotty hand pass that he just read really well and knocked it to the floor, and Tipp got bodies there. So another solid performance. Ronan Maher got one score from distance. He got one wide from distance as well, but Ronan is Ronan, just kind of manning that centre at the start of the game. Couple of occasions he was taking man ball and all. He did get a yellow card for a heavy shoulder on Tony Kelly, but I don't think it was veering towards red card or anything like that. Just a heavy shoulder right in front of the tunnel, kind of winded Tony Kelly. He was into the kind of front area, but it wasn't one of those ones where Ronan came full speed and ran through Tony Kelly. It was just kind of a collision. Fair yellow card, I thought, but Ronan Maher continuing his good form. Brian McGrath got the opening score of the game for Tipperary. He got a point. What was solid throughout. I don't think he can be too disappointed with his performance. He was taken off for Brian O'Mara, and I did think Brian O'Mara did really well when he came on, which was really good to see. I've spoken a lot about how much I like Brian O'Mara's style of play, his striking ability, and the surface in Semple Stadium was quite difficult, so it wasn't an easy day for getting the ball off the ground. But I thought Brian O'Mara, when he came on, done really well, and that should do his confidence an awful lot of good. It was a really good cameo, I thought, from Brian O'Mara. The midfield for Tipperary today didn't contribute much in terms of scores, which they have been doing. Craig Morgan and Willie Connors, just one of those games. It's not as if Ryan Taylor and Cathal Malone overran them or anything in midfield, but just one of those games where they both did good things in terms of hooks and blocks. I remember both players getting kind of big hooks and blocks, and Craig Morgan shouldered the lad out over the stand in front of the newsstand, out over the sideline in front of the newsstand, and Willie Connors got a big block at one stage as well. So the lads were working hard as usual. We just didn't maybe see the go forward as much. Maybe given the conditions, Craig Morgan scored a goal against Kilkenny and things like that. We didn't see much of those go forward runs from the two lads in midfield. Willie Connors was replaced by Dara Stakelum, and Dara Stakelum, I thought, one of his best performances in a Tipperary jersey. I thought when he came on, he won a lot of ruck balls, and he's a real tidy player. But you kind of sometimes think those players might be suited to those conditions. But he came out with a few rucks, dirty balls, a few hooks and blocks and things like that, and 2 scores, including the winning point. So huge contribution for him. And even, when we're waiting in the tunnel for Liam Cowell to do the post-match interview, um, a couple of the players were saying Hans Stakelum as he was going down the tunnel. So really, really good stuff from Dara Stakelum. That will do him the world of good. And Liam Cowell would have noted that performance, I'm sure, off the bench from Dara Stakelum. So 2 points for him and a really good performance. Seamus Kennedy, I thought maybe struggled to get into that game in the first half. Again, he's playing wing forward. Didn't really impose himself on the game as you'd like to see, but he's moving around positions, still coming off that injury. So, you'd be foolish to kind of write Seamus Kennedy off in terms of what he can offer this team going forward. But just didn't kind of fall right for Seamus Kennedy, I thought, this evening in Thurles. But as I said, he's for sure going to be a useful player. He was replaced by Garrod O'Connor in a kind of a triple substitution. Brian O'Mara come on during that substitution as well, and I think that was the substitution. Derek Stakelum come on all at once when Tipp went 8 points down, and Garrod O'Connor got one shot away, one score, and it was a difficult one from halfway between the 265s. With that wind, he wouldn't have had a shot on goals with that wind since maybe an hour, during the warm up. So really good score from Garrod O'Connor, and his work rate is really good in around that middle third. Again, I remember him chasing back and flicking the ball off a lad's hurley. So a good contribution from Garrod O'Connor off the bench, that's for sure. Jake Morris, I thought, has a really good performance. It was a battle in there. There was a couple of one-on-ones between him and Adam Hogan, and Adam Hogan is as sticky as a player can come. And Jake was shown for the ball, making the runs, making himself available, and he got 2 points. Could have got that goal. Brilliant save from Ever Quilligan. Won a lot of frees. Really happy with that performance from Jake Morris. Really kind of leaders kind of performance from Jake. Noel McGrath was very tidy, got a score. Just so tidy, that's the word. There's a couple of times where he just does things. I think he put the ball through John Conlon's legs at one stage and just cleverly, I think he might have set up that Rowan and Maher point where he played it back out the field. And we all know Noel at this stage, the man's vision is kind of unrivaled, particularly in Tipperary. I think the passes he can see and his just knowledge of the game and knowledge of where to be and where the best options are is really, really good. Caught a few puck outs as well, Noel McGrath. So very happy with that. His first start, he played the full 70 minutes. So great to get the kind of minutes into Noel McGrath. Into the full forward line then, Conor Bowe got a score. I thought he looked a bit rusty at times. Just he hasn't played an awful lot of game time, and I think he might have been kind of out through illness and things like that in the past few weeks, from what I've heard. But I thought he kind of had that chance where he set it up for Jake Morris. He did get a score himself, and he was lively. He was kind of moving out the field. He was kind of more out the field than in the corner forward position, that's for sure. But good to get some game time into Conor Bowe. I've always mentioned that he can be a useful player for Tipperary with his pace, his finishing ability. So good to see him get some game time and make a contribution. Shawnee Kennelly came on fairly late, but the first ball that came his way, he caught it on the edge of the square, but just got kind of bottled up in a couple of tacklers, so had to get rid of it. Didn't really get on much ball after that because he had come on late, but it's nice to see these players coming on and with the bit between the teeth, because they're trying to make a championship team now for a month's time against Limerick and for the league final. And Shawnee Kennelly got that goal against Limerick, then didn't go his way against Cork, and we haven't seen much from him since. So I'm sure he's really eager to make an impression once again. Jason Ford, 9 points on the day. Maybe got 1 or 2 from play. I'd have to reflect back on it. Missed that opening free, as I mentioned, but then really kind of got it going with the frees, some difficult ones that Tipp really needed. So overall, good performance from Jason Ford, you have to say, with those frees when needed. Not as much from open play, but he did have a good old tussle there with Conor Cleary. A lot of kind of pulling and dragging going on there, but happy with Jason Ford's performance. And then Dylan Walsh, I mentioned that touch. They have to show it on League Sunday. It was unbelievable. Ball over his shoulder, Adam Hogan on his back, and touches it straight into his hands. On another day, he could have been in for a goal. And there was one incredible moment that's worth mentioning as well in the second half. A long ball into the edge of the square, and you're kind of following the play in the middle of the field. Then the ball is lobbing into the edge of the square, and as you turn, it's Dylan Walsh waiting for the ball maybe 2 yards outside the square, and the defender outside the 14 scrambling back, nowhere to be seen. So Ever Quilligan comes out, tries to take, man ball and all over the head of Dylan Walsh. I don't think anyone got a touch. Went in over Ever Quilligan's head. On a summer's day, it was in the back of the net. It bounces outside the edge of the square and rolls towards the goals. And I mean, I'd say it was a millimetre from not going over the line. Adam Hogan was the one who rushed back and just sliding, which is a hard thing to do, sliding and just connecting with the ball perfectly to clear it. Somehow kept it out. It was an incredible moment to play, but that was might have went down as a Dylan Walsh goal. If he had got a touch, you'd have to see it back. And I mentioned with that Jake Morris goal chance, Dylan Walsh pulled out and made himself available and opened things up. So he's got a real eye for goal, and he's kind of involved with goal scoring plays a lot of the time. So I'd be happy with how Dylan Walsh finished up, got a score as well. He was replaced by Andrew Ormond, and Andrew Ormond was very busy when he came on, got on a lot of ball, set up a couple of scores, got a few hand passes away in the middle third, and I'd be happy with his contribution as well. So the bench was very strong for Tipperary today. So that's we'll run you down through Clare. Shane Woods was making his debut. He was the only one in the full back line who didn't get a yellow card. Adam Hogan got that one for pulling down Dylan Walsh, and Conor Cleary got one himself, and Jason Ford were kind of tussling off the ball. But Shane Woods didn't get a yellow, but I recall him making a good few fouls on Jake Morris in that second half. John Conlon, really good in the centre back position, just so good in around rucks and so strong, and just tends to come out with an awful lot of ball in that middle third. Ryan Taylor broke through at one stage, an awful lot of pace, hit one kind of poor wide. Colin Malone was solid there. Tony Kelly with that brilliant score that I mentioned, got a few good long range frees as well, and a couple more from play. Just such a good player to watch, Tony Kelly. There was one stage where he had a free right on the sideline. It was actually when he got that heavy shoulder from Ronan Murray, the free right on the sideline, and cleverly just played it along the ground, got to 1-2, brought it up inside the 45, put it over the bar. Just made it look so easy. Great player to watch. Other performers then, I did mention Aaron Shanahan, just how kind of dangerous he is. He probably snapped 5 or 6 balls out of the sky in that game. So useful player, as I said, for Clare. And Mark Rogers, really, really good. 1-5 for him. Just seems to do the right thing when he has the ball. Very kind of fluid kind of player, running with it. And he had another good game. So 1-5 for him. So that kind of sums it up. Tipp go on to play Cork now. Cork with another big win. And I only heard maybe about an hour after full time in Semple Stadium when I was getting into the car, Tommy Guilfoyle of Clare FM and Derek Lynch talking to them in the car park, when Tommy Guilfoyle informed me that Wexford had bet Limerick. So that's a game I'm looking forward to looking back. That's not a result I would have predicted, particularly in the Gaelic grounds, 119 to 112. So it's been a funny all league, but Tipperary and Cork are in the final. I think the first time since 1960 they've met in the league final. So be interesting to see where that game will be played. Cork are absolutely on fire. They scored 10 goals in the last 2 games, playing against Clare and playing against Galway. So they're in a rich vein of form. They'll be the favourites going in. As Liam Cahill said, Cork are probably a little bit further on than Tipperary in terms of developing and transitioning and rebuilding, etc. But Tip will have a good crack off them. Bet them in Semple Stadium. Can they beat them in a league final? Let's see. But great for Tipperary to be there. The league has been a success for Tip so far. And let's see where it goes from here in 2 weeks' time. We'll kind of wrap it up as that. I thought this would only be 15 minutes. What are we, 24 minutes now? A reminder, at P Carroll Sport is my Twitter if you want to follow. Same on Instagram as well, and TikTok. And if you're watching this on YouTube, give us a like, subscribe to the channel. And if you're listening on Spotify, then any likes and follows are much appreciated as well. And there's plenty more to talk about. That James Mahon yellow or red card for Offaly was just, how that is a red card, I don't know. The linesman seemed to be positioned right there and saw the shoulder into the chest. If that's a red card, going forward, like, we're going to have very little games ending 15-15, that's for sure. But That's for another day. Finished up in Thurles, 22 points to 118. And yeah, we'll leave the podcast at that. Many thanks for tuning in. And yeah, we'll talk to you on the next one. Bye for now.